Marriage is a beautiful thing when you go into it with the right foundation and the right person. But the unfortunate reality is that millions of people have not done that. They haven't had the right foundation, and unfortunately, yes, they married the wrong person. And this can happen because we don't properly do our due diligence before we cross certain lines with people, before we move our relationship to the next step. So it's very important that you understand the questions you should ask a man before you marry him. Now, listen, some of these questions you probably need to ask before you even get in a relationship with him, right? But we're going to put it within the context of before you get into marriage. So let's get to it. The first question to ask him is, what are his sexual and emotional expectations and desires? So let's break this down. So one, I started this off with sex because, let's face it, that's one of the biggest issues married couples are facing, all right? It's a big problem. If you're not aware, I'm making you aware right now, because as a coach, been doing this for a long time, I hear it every single time. And there's such a huge disconnect between the man and the woman when it comes to the sex life and how they relate to each other sexually. Now, this can encompass a lot of various different things, but let's focus on the question of, what are his first expectations? You need to find out what he is looking for from you sexually, because the majority of men, if not all, are going into marriage with what they're hoping is going to be a certain amount of sex, consistent sex. I want to use the word consistent emphatically, because listen, it's not a few times here or a good week of it here and then several weeks of no action and then we get to it again. No. Consistent, like they can count on it, all right? Because for that man, he whether he feels like he needs that release or he just wants to indulge in you sexually, that's part of the program. And because a lot of people don't have those discussions, part of that is because if you are already engaging in sexual relations in the relationship, you both may feel like, or he may feel like, everything is great. And his perception is what he's getting from you now should remain constant after marriage. And part of the reason why he believes that is because men view it as, if for example, you enjoy having sex with him, or that's what you present to him as your feelings towards it, he may think, okay, she's just a woman who likes sex. She enjoys sex with me, so I shouldn't have a problem getting it from her later. What he doesn't understand in most cases is that as a woman, there are factors that make you more sexually receptive or less sexually receptive to your man. And if he just thinks you liking sex is just who you are, so essentially it doesn't matter what he does, if you're just in the mood, then he'll get some. And since you seem to be in the mood more often than not while you're in boyfriend-girlfriend phase, he's thinking, all right, we should be good. But you have to communicate to him. Unless you truly are that woman where you just love it so much, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, you're all for it. But the majority of women are impacted emotionally, mentally, as far as how receptive they're going to be. And if that is not discussed pre-marriage, there's going to be a huge problem after it. So there's the issue of how much he's looking for, but there has to be a discussion of what you're going to need from him to even keep up that amount of activity, all right? To be receptive to him consistently. Because if he just thinks it's about you being horny or not, we got a huge problem on our hands. Not only is it about the consistency, the amount of it, it's also about the quality of it, the actual actions within the bedroom. So here's one example, and I hope this isn't too much for some of you, right? But let's just say he loves oral sex. He loves it to death. Or, sex for him without oral sex is like a sandwich without the meat. It's like we're just eating bread, all right? and he's not feeling that. He needs meat in his sandwich, right? So, but let's say for you, yeah, you did it a decent amount of times in the relationship. And listen, I'm not saying, in this video, we're not discussing whether it's right or wrong to be having sex before marriage. You know how I roll with that. But I understand many are still engaging in it. So we're talking about it from the perspective of you have been engaging in it. And even if you haven't, you still have to have these discussions. If you two are waiting till marriage, these are still very important questions and discussions to have. But anyways, back to the example. He loves his oral sex. You're not too fond of it. All right. You did it. You got through it as best as you can while you were dating. But now that you're married, you don't care for it too much. And you may think, well, as long as I have sex with him, he'll be okay. No, no. If he loves that specific act, it's not just about lay down with him. It's about the things that he wants. Because now, if he's not getting the oral sex from you in the marriage, that can turn into frustration, resentment. That then pours over into other aspects of the relationship. Now you guys are fighting each other over little small nonsense. But it all started from he's frustrated with him not getting what he's looking for in the bedroom. So there has to be a talk about it, because sometimes the things that he may be looking for, you may not be cool with. You may be like, no, I draw my line here and I'm not going past it. And you have every right to feel that way. I'm in no way going to tell you to compromise whatever your values and beliefs are. What I am going to tell you is, if you know you are unwilling to provide his desires in the bedroom, you need to think twice about moving forward, because it's basically a setup for disaster. And that disaster can come in the form of a low quality relationship and or infidelity. I'm just going to be real with you. It's unlikely that he's going to be able to deny himself of this strong desire for an extended amount of time. He might get through year 1, 2, 3, but man, at some point he's going elsewhere. That's just what typically is going to happen. So you want to talk about the expectations, but again, you want to talk about desires too, because I said expectations and desires because when you ask them on what they expect, I feel like people answer with the bare minimum. Well, at the very least, I need 2 to 3 times a week, right? At the very least, I need this. But when you ask them, what is your desire? Well, what I really want is every day. Maybe that's his thing, maybe that's not. But I'm saying, like, when we ask for desires, it's another notch up. And you want to be aware of the expectations and the desires, because again, it just plays such a huge role in marriage and it cannot be overlooked. All right. So now real quick, before I move on to the next question, let me add a little bit to this topic. 1, do not agree to things you're not really down for. All right. If you know there's certain sexual activities or sexual frequency that really isn't your cup of tea, do not say yes just to push things along and move towards the next level of the relationship when you know you cannot sustain that. I think also there has to be a discussion of, or trying to gain an understanding of, are you dealing with a conservative man or a more, let's just use the word, free-spirited man, right? Someone who's going to be a little bit more into experimenting and trying different things. Now, again, if you are that woman and he's that guy, awesome. But you don't want to be a conservative woman trying to be with a free-spirited guy. That can create a lot of conflict. Or in reverse, you may be the free-spirited woman and he's the overly conservative guy. So you want to gain an understanding of how they even view sex overall and what's their vision, and understand that ultimately, listen, no matter what, there's always going to be changes as we grow. And we gain more life experience. And that can lead to people wanting to try things that they thought they would never want to try before. And so I think when we fortify the rest of the relationship, it makes it easier to grow in those areas together. But just understand that, yes, there may always have some level of flexibility is what I'm getting at. because there's going to always be some things that could change, but you still want to have a great foundation of understanding each other when it comes to intimacy.